Hey, everybody. Thank you for joining us. You have just tuned in to Where is the Love? I am your host. I am Stephanie Hawkenhall. Joining me is my son, my co host, Gene Williams.
Good eye, mateys. Top of the morning to you. How you doing?
Good, your name changed.
Yeah. When you realize certain things. And my 44th birthday is coming very soon, and with the work that I've been doing, the old version of myself had to pass away to make room for new, and so this is the new name here, Adisa Karanja Malik. And we'll discuss that more over time, but just you see it now. Just get used to it. Get used to it.
All righty
Soon,
then.
Gene won't exist anymore.
So I had Gene Williams, but he just said he passed away, and this is the new Gene. So let's see what's happening with this Gene.
Here we go. So this is Adisa.
All right. Thank you for joining us. Again, you just tuned in to Where's the Love? If you are watching us, you are either watching us, you can be watching us on Facebook, um, Stephanie Terrell Hockenhall, or our YouTube channels, Love Misunderstood Institute or Premier Fitness 0210. You can also watch us. We're live right now on TV on Roku and Amazon Fire. So on those, search POD TV space LIVE, and you can watch us live right now while we're doing this show. So again, thank you for joining us. And we have been talking about gaslighting. Uh, we have talked about gaslighting in past shows, but now we're talking about shadow work.
I was so like, you switch subjects on me without telling me?
Well, you changed the name, so I switch what we do.
Touche, touche.
Okay, so tell them about what we did on episode 111, and then let's get started.
All right, for sure. In episode 111, we gave you some examples to help you know when shadow work needs to be done in your life. We gave you some compassionate and empathetic responses to help someone else who needs to do shadow work. And I want to issue this warning from the jump. Like when it's like anything in life. When you become aware of something, those floodgates open. So we are, with these episodes, constantly diving into what is called shadow work. So when you shine light into those shadows and you realize how many shadows are there, and you uncover one, and another one pops up, so on and so forth. So the warning is, um, if you do shadow work, understand that you're going to open the floodgates of healing, and it ain't gonna be pretty. I spent a lot of my day yesterday crying and being upset, and having to work through a lot of emotions because I'm in the work of doing shadow work, mirror work, all those things, all those healing modalities. Um, and it's ugly sometimes. You realize things that you put in the shadows. I mean, that's what this is about. Things that we hid from ourselves to operate in the world in a way that is palatable for others. But when you shine that light into those shadows, it's going to be some ugly stuff in there. You know how they say skeletons in your closet? Them
Yep.
skeletons gonna come out bug jumping on you. Hey, what up, partner? You forgot about me, didn't you? Huh? What up, boy? And that's what they do. They dance on your head, and I mean, I'm joking, but it's serious work, man. You have to once you shine light on that shadow, you you're aware of it. It's like when you have an addiction. The first step to healing that addiction is acknowledgement. But you can acknowledge all day if you don't start doing the work to
Fix it, heal it.
to filter it into to heal it, to filter it into your life, and then integrate it into the whole of who you are. Because like that side of yourself, like for instance, me with the loquaciousness. Um, you know, I in a lot of spaces am really quiet and observant because I don't want to say too much and then he talks too much or whatever. You know, but more than anything, it was just an aspect of me that I pushed away And when I want to talk a lot, it's because I have something to say. If I don't have anything to say, if I don't have anything to add to the situation, I don't say a word. Um, but even in those times where I felt like I had something to say, because of that chastisement or whatever, you talk too much. I would be quiet. And I was just like, okay, I have something to say. I, um, I'm going to allow myself to speak my truth, and after I get done, I'm done. But you can either accept what I got to say or not. I'm no longer, and still working on this, but no longer uh, quieting myself so that I don't make someone else feel uncomfortable. Whatever you feel about me is on you. I know that I got to be whole for me,
Yeah.
and that's the work, becoming whole. We are fragmented beings when we push aspects of ourselves into the shadow to be acceptable for other people who have shadows that they don't even look at.
Right.
Skeletons in their closet. Right. Exactly. They're afraid to look at them. I'm looking at mine. I'm shining a light on it, and it hurts, but it's necessary. You got to go through. It's like a healing. You got a wound in order to go through the healing process. Now you got the wound. Now the skin is going to have to pull back together. You're going to have the pus that comes from the healing. You're going to have that scab, and then scar tissue possibly. I mean, so on and so forth. The healing process is is not linear. It's constant work, constant conscious effort, and so if you start shadow work, you better be ready to do some work.
Yeah, because healing is important if you don't want to grow older, bitter, angry, full of hatred, animosity, and all those negative things. Um, when things come up, when you get the triggers of something from the past, it's because it's time to acknowledge it and to make a choice of whether you want to keep that, hold it so tightly, or open your hand and let it go to receive what's best for you. So,
That's it.
um, did you want to add something else?
No, I just said I say. I agree. Amen to that. Yes, you gotta
Yeah,
you make a choice. We are powerful creators. We have the ability to change our lives as we please by making a choice. Either I'm
yep,
gonna keep doing this, what I'm used to, what's comfortable, or I'm gonna make myself uncomfortable so I can grow. That's why we
yep,
go through growing pains. You can't be an infant or a fetus your entire life. You go from a fetus to a full baby, and you come out and you grow from being a baby to a toddler to so on and so forth. You go through those growing pains, and that's what healing is. You're growing and going through growing pains so you can become the best version of yourself. So buckle in.
right. That's good. So, this is why your inner shadow matters. The shadow self often subtly influences behaviors such as emotional triggers or projections onto others. By recognizing and integrating it, the shadow work, you can achieve greater self awareness and authenticity and personal growth. So, the effects of ignoring your shadow, I'm going to let you go ahead and start there.
Okay. So when you ignore it, your shadow will find ways to make you aware that it exists. This can lead to issues like self-loathing or poor self-esteem, self-deceit and deceiving others, anxiety and depression, offensive behavior toward others, struggling to have healthy relationships with others, self-sabotage, which is engaging in behaviors that consciously or unconsciously hinder one's own success and well-being. Man, it essentially it's essentially working against yourself, preventing you from achieving your goals, maintaining desired relationships, or simply feeling good about yourself. Also creates self-absorption, preoccupation with one's own emotions and interests or situation. Also can an inflated ego, engaging in behaviors that consciously or unconsciously hinder one's own success and well-being. Uh, it's essentially working against yourself, preventing you from achieving your goals. Okay. An inflated ego where you just think that you the bee's knees and everyone is below you.
Yeah.
Um, so when you reject your shadow, you may also start projecting onto others. Projection happens when you see things in others that you subconsciously recognize within yourself. Those parts can make you uncomfortable. And as a result, you can seek to judge or punish others who reflect those traits.
You want to add anything?
Uh, I'm gonna keep going. We're gonna keep going.
Mark just made a comment. He said, "Does Jordan Hudson need shadow work?
Jordan
Maybe
Hudson.
she has an
Nothing inside.
inflated ego." I don't know who Jordan Hudson is, but maybe she has an inflated ego since she is a 24-year-old model. Oh, she's a model dating a 73-year-old legend. Wow.
Oh,
Um, I don't know if that's the one that I just heard about recently or not. Something happened with them. Um,
mm,
can't remember what it was. I just heard about that this week, but I didn't. I think they got into some kind of fight or something. Um, but Mark will probably put it in there. Bill Belichick's girlfriend, the Airbnb.
uh,
Okay. Um, so I'm not really familiar with that. I do remember hearing, but anyway. So did you want to add something else?
well, I mean, in that situation, probably both have inflated egos that clash.
Well, I
But
think it was her actually that had. Well, yeah, it was her
okay,
that he was referring to. I
gotcha.
can't remember what all I heard about that. I heard something about that this week, and I was like, "What the heck is a 73-year-old doing with a 24-year-old?" But she's running things from what I
Hmm.
remember, and he's just going along with. I guess he's just happy to have somebody so long. He
He's sugar
said.
daddy.
Yeah, Mark said, but yes, both have inflated egos.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, I can't remember the entire situation. So, 8 benefits of shadow work. Let's get into that. So, you can benefit from practicing shadow work in several different aspects of your life. And we're going to give you 8 examples of benefits you can gain by implementing shadow work into your self care practices. So, number one, you can gain more confidence and self esteem. You can show up more confidently when you show up as a full version of yourself, shadow and all. There's no more hidden self doubt about parts of yourself that you may dislike or even loathe. This means you can be more confident as you move forward to achieve your goals. Most of the time, our shadow traits are actually valuable parts of our personality. But if they are truly weaknesses, you're better able to address them when you bring them out into the light so you can understand and maybe better manage them. Our shadow is most problematic when we aren't even aware of it.
Right. Yeah, and just kind of the capstone off that, like like I said before, the being told that two loquacious. Um, that aspect when you bring it out is you speaking up for yourself. You know, and I wasn't doing that before. Someone would say something, do something, I just take it and feel terrible about it on the inside. But now I was like, hey, we talk about all the time, setting them firm boundaries. Hey, this is not what we're doing. We're gonna do this, and we ain't doing that. And either you can be down with that or not. So you become confident and feel uh, strong in your selfhood, which means that you're able to set boundaries, which means you actually have more control over your life.
Yeah. Yes, it's hard when you are made to, feel ashamed about something that you think or a way that you feel, and you're not able to express it for whatever reason. It can negatively affect you, your confidence, and definitely lower your self esteem because you're made to feel like what you say or what you think is not important.
Right.
You want to
Yep.
add?
And you are beautifully made. You are powerful.
Yeah.
Um, you are blessed. Whatever talents you have, you're given that for a specific reason. We are all a unique version of the creator. And without that aspect, that true version of yourself, then you're not giving the universe and yourself and the creator a reflection that is indicative of what you're supposed to be. We push ourselves down to hide, to make other people feel comfortable while we feel uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And it's those people who are able to push the paradigm in a different way that they're not used to. That's how we all grow and evolve. So be that Tesla, be that Albert Einstein, be that, W.E.B. Du Bois, Langston Hughes, be that person who speaks up about stuff that other people don't realize. And you may get flack. That's the sign that you're doing the right thing. When they
Yeah.
give you flack back, you're doing the right thing. Keep trucking. Keep
Yeah.
trucking like Eddie Kendrick. Keep on trucking, baby.
Mark said a couple things here. He said, can shadow work be successful if both are egotistical? We can even use Tiger Wood and his new girlfriend, one of the
Lord.
Trump family. Oh, that's interesting. I don't keep up on the news like that, so I didn't know he was dating one of Trump's folks. Um,
So
Go ahead.
I was gonna say shadow work works when you do the work. So
Yeah,
you can be egotistical to start with, but once you start doing the work, things will change. Trust me. You shine a light into that shadow, things are gonna change. You're gonna shake it up. Shake it up like a pair of dice. All right, what's up now? We sorry.
Mark said, also wonder if folks chilling like a villain on penicillin need shadow work.
Hey, I'm telling you, that villain. I mean, he's joking, but if you look at villains in movies, they have a lot of trauma
Yeah,
that is unchecked for a long time, and they get tired and they start fighting back. Now it shows up, in these movies as a negative thing, but this is the person breaking free from those chains that were set on them by other people and trauma that they dealt with that was unchecked. So that's why I love villains because villains get to a point where they don't care no more. They're not trying to uphold some kind of utopian uh, uh, what's the word I'm looking for? Origami, two-dimensional reality that is palpable for everybody. They're like, yo, y'all screwed up, you gonna pay for it.
yeah,
Like Magneto, one of my favorites. Like the dude was mad because and I'm gonna give you a short version, but his family was killed in the concentration camps. Um, and then he was subjugated, and he's a mutant. He's different. So by nature, you're gonna be looked at weird. So you're dealing with the Holocaust, and you're dealing with being made fun of because you're different, compiled into a lot of work. And then eventually, he was just like, you know what? Y'all killing my people. I'm tired of this. I'm about to get in you.
yeah.
So
So Mark said something else too. Wonder if our wildlife companions do shadow work. Think that Robin I saw earlier primping and posing might have needed shadow work.
it sounds like you're like maybe a little narcissistic on play.
Mark, you taking this shadow work thing too far.
Right.
And then he said most superheroes did shadow work also. Think of why Spider-Man became Spider-Man or why Superman became Superman. That makes me just that comment makes me think about how people in power and why they become some of them become people in power, not all of them, but why some of them, aka policemen, for example, um, they become policemen, some of them, because they were bullied, and this is a way I can bully people back. Um,
Hmm.
so basically, that reverse psychology in action kind of thing, um,
Right.
which is horrible. But I mean, if I can, get in a position of power and tell people what to do that hurt me, and I can hurt them back, so it becomes retaliation, then
Hmm.
that's what I'm going to do. That's the position I want, and That's sad.
Mm,
But it happens. Is very true.
you know, and I firmly believe that people in those positions should have regular, like this, it should be paid for by the government, that they have therapy, do shadow work, and all of that stuff, and then also have there's programs here that I love where the community and the police work together for a common goal. Now, this small organizations that don't happen grand scheme, but realize that in essence, you have the same goals. Now, if we're being technical, the police work for the corporatocracy, which we call,
You froze. So since he froze, I'm gonna go to the next part, and when he comes back, then he can finish what he was saying. So number two, the second thing you can do, which benefits shadow work, is improve your creativity. Your shadow doesn't need to just hide traits that people consider undesirable. It can also hide amazing parts of yourself, like creativity. Accepting your shadow means you get to embrace your creative side. Instead of suppressing your darker self, you can tap fully into all of the unique expressions it hides. Oh, he got kicked out.
Yeah, he got kicked out. I saw that, and hopefully he's coming back. But I was actually going to add to something that he said because there's a group, and I was going to put it in the chat, called Heart. It's here in where I'm at in Durham and everything, but it is actually people that are able to go to like emergency situations because they are better trained and know how to deal with that. Whether it's marriage situations where a lot of times the police force, as he was just talking, aren't trained in how to deal with that situation. So we have a program here called Heart. So these are people that are trained in therapy and how to deal with those kind of interpersonal communications that oftentimes police and others are not trained in. And like I agree with what Gene was saying earlier, they should be trained in that, but a lot of times they aren't. So there is a program here in North Carolina, I think it's a national program, but it's called Heart, where they will send out trained counselors to go to these situations because a lot of times the people that are going to those situations, whether it's police, EMS, or firefighters, aren't trained in how to deal with those situations, whether it's family dynamics or whether it's marital dynamics or other kind of dynamics, but they are trained in that kind of situation. So they will actually go on the calls with them because they have a greater psychological and sociological training than some of our police officers do.
That's good. Um, and that would be, if there was a program for some type of, especially now, because mental health is, has become more prevalent than it used to be. If everybody that was going to take a position of power, if they could, have some kind of therapy, because people do stuff to people out of, because of stuff that happened to them, or because they're angry, and like I said, earlier, it's a way to retaliate, you know um so it would be great if they had, programs like that, and everybody had to take some psychological, evaluations, because people don't think about the fact that here we are in positions of authority, and we have not been healed, so we're taking out and putting out things onto other people, projecting things out onto other people that are not, that they don't have anything to do with, and they don't understand why you're doing what you're doing, or why you're saying what you're saying. But I mean, it made me just think of the term hurt people. you
Mm-hmm.
know we do that because we haven't gotten healed. We haven't sought healing. We just, we're angry. Oh, and now here's another person treat me like, my mother or my father or my brother or my sister or somebody else treated me that I was around for a long time. They treated me bad. And so now somebody else is coming along doing it. And I'm not taking that. So this is how I'm going to start treating everybody. So then you just start taking that stuff out on everybody.
Yep,
Uh,
start taking folks and all on those lines. I did put down the suicide hotline because I know y'all oftentimes talk about that. So I was trying to find it, But if folks are dealing with situations, they can always call 988. So that's what I was trying to find in case folks are dealing with situations. And we do have Gene coming back, so I'm gonna see if I can get him back in. But there is the number, the 988 number, and all along those lines. But that's
Thank
the
you,
suicide
Mark.
hotline.
Thank you. Jean, I just looked and hopefully you can get all the way back in. I saw, oh, there you are. I saw, just looked and saw your message because I was like, it's taking him a minute. Is he coming back? So I
Yeah.
see the message. You good?
Yeah, yeah. So where are we now?
So we are actually on number 3. You froze again. So he's having some power issues. So let me, Jean, just come back in when you're ready. I'm gonna go on to number 3. Build better relationships with others. So only when you fully love and accept yourself can you fully love and accept others. Only when you fully love and accept yourself can you fully love and accept others. When you tame your projections, wow, just talking about this, when you tame your projections, you can see others for who they really are. You no longer see them as projections of the side of of you that you dislike. As a result, you can build stronger bonds with them. So remember, we're sharing the 8 benefits of shadow work. So number 4, Jean, if
Gotcha. All right. All right. So when you get rid of, so first, number 4 is practice self-acceptance. You can get rid of the self-loathing you may unconsciously have when you repress your shadow. But you can only do this by fully accepting that side of yourself and practicing self-awareness and also self-compassion. Accepting your shadow means accepting and feeling self-compassion for every aspect of yourself. It won't necessarily come easily or and automatically, but beginning shadow work opens the doors for you to get there.
wow. Yeah, you got to have compassion for yourself, and everything has to be done for you before you can give it to somebody else. We say it all the time. And you probably heard it. You can't pour from an empty cup. Can't give to somebody if your cup is empty. So
Right,
self-compassion, have compassion, mercy, and grace,
right.
on yourself. Forgive yourself, and then you can do all of that stuff for others. Go ahead.
Mm. I think you were the one who told me this a few years back. You can't have a testimony unless you went through the test. I
Hello.
think that was you. That was you. That was you. Hello there. Hello there. We're on Earth.
You can't. And it's hard to go through the mess we go through, in life. And I'm just talking about people, period. It's hard
Hmm.
to go through that mess, but you ain't going through it just for you. Boo. You
Boo
going
boo.
through it. You
Boo
going
booski.
through it. Right. You going through it so you can learn from it, grow in it, grow through it, and then give it to somebody else. Because
Right,
10 million other people might be experiencing the exact same thing.
right,
Maybe not in the exact same way, but they're experiencing the same thing in a different way, maybe. But the outcome is what you need to help you pull through. So you
right.
got to pull through. You got to pull through so you can help other people.
Yep. Yeah, it's
Wow.
like that. What you said is like kind of like having a person tell you to get to, like on a map. If a person has not been to this destination, they can't tell you how to get from point A to point B unless they've actually done that journey. They've been to this spot, so they know how to navigate. You can. It's easy to come at things from a theoretical standpoint, but it's experiential uh, evidence and testimony that helps a person through truly because you've actually done the work. We can look
Yep.
at books and read all day long and intellectualize and theorize. That
Yep.
don't that's cool. It has its place, but it's those who experience it and can can give you examples and are an example of the outcome or the success of what they've done to get to that healthy outcome are the ones that's actually going to help you through. And that's what we're doing by doing this healing journey.
Yep, exactly. Would you read the next one? I need to put the YouTube link on my Facebook page.
Gotcha. All right. So number 5 is discover your hidden talents. You can use shadow work to uncover what some people call the gold in your shadow bags. In other words, your inner strengths and resources that you didn't realize you had before. Some people may fear that their shadow contains too much darkness for them to overcome, but in most cases, this golden shadow takes up most of the space. It just never had an opportunity to thrive before. Shadow work can tempt this side of yourself out of hiding and allow you to step into everything you can really do. You got to be all of that part of yourself. You got to be to be a whole being. You have to deal with and integrate every aspect of yourself. Make it a tool of your constructive of your construction as opposed to your destruction. When you hide things from yourself, you tend to self sabotage and hide things that actually can make you shine, like you said, like gold. It's like doing alchemy. You take a base metal and you melt it down and you purify and go through all these processes so you can come back and you got that gold from that base metal like lead. You go from lead to gold. That's the work. You got to break down the entire compound. One of my favorite occult statements is solve et coagula, or destroy in order to rebuild. We have to break down the original to become the better version, the higher vibrational version of ourselves. And that's what we're doing with shadow work. This is inner alchemy.
Yep, that's good. That's good. Are we on number 5?
6.
Okay. You wanna?
I got you. All right.
Okay.
So number 6, you can improve your overall wellness. Repressing your shadow can lead to all sorts of problems. You might not even realize these problems stem from a repressed side of yourself until you're ready to face that shadow. Excuse me. Shadow work can help you take control of your wellness journey by starting at the roots. Did you hear that? I'm going to repeat that one more time. That's important. Shadow work can help you take control of your wellness by starting at the root of the
Yeah.
problem. A lot of times in the work that we do, we're dealing with symptoms. We haven't gone to the root. You got to go to the root to see what this is, see where it plugs into who you are, and then decide from there what you're going to do with it. Is this something that's useful? Do I need to dig this up? You know what I mean? And break it down and use it as like, mulch. When you pull up weeds, you can break down those weeds and use it, put it back in the earth, and make it something that's beneficial to that soil. So, and that's what we're doing with shadow work. You're digging up old version of yourself or things that you hid and making it into something that's beneficial as opposed to destructive.
Right. And that's simply what shadow work is
Hmm.
seeing it, acknowledging it, wanting to do something about it, and then digging deeper to find out, hey, where in the heck did this start from? How did
Hmm.
this start? How did it get started? Where did it come from? What's the origination?
Yep.
So that's doing the deep work. That's part of seeing your shadow and
Yep.
recognizing, hey, this is me. This is happening to me. What am I going to do about it? I don't like it. I don't want it. So what's
Right.
next? All right, let's find out without repeating all the things that I just said. You
Right.
know. So you want to add
Yep.
something?
Yeah, yeah. I was gonna say. So it's like because I do landscaping work as well and horticultural work, and you can't kill a tree or a weed or anything if you just pull it up. Because when you pull it up, it drops seeds. You got to go to the root and kill it at the root, and it wipes it completely out. But if you don't go to the root, you gonna pull up that weed. It's gonna drop seeds, and you're gonna have for the one you pulled up. Now you got 10. You see what I'm saying? And
Yeah.
because you just pulled it, you didn't deal with the problem. You can go down deep into the dirt and kill the root down there. No, you just, yeah, I'm just gonna pull this up and boom, 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 boom. You come back a month later and you got 10 of those little things. But where did they come from? Because you didn't deal with the root. You dealt
Yeah,
with the symptom. The weed is the symptom. There's a seed in there. You know what I mean? That is this thing, this weed. And if you don't go down there and pick up and kill that seed, it'll grow again even bigger. So yeah,
that's
man.
that's a good analogy.
You know.
Number 6 or 7.
Well, let me. I'm sorry. I didn't finish six.
Okay.
Instead of addressing specific wellness issues like anxiety or an unhealthy relationship, shadow work tackles their root causes. That's what we just said.
Yeah. So remember, we are sharing the 8 benefits of shadow work. So, number 7, increase your compassion towards others. Shadow work helps you reduce projection when you interact with others. You're less likely to be triggered by other people's personality traits and quirks. In turn, this can help you feel more compassionate toward others. You no longer see the dark side of yourself reflected in others. Instead, you can see them as whole people who likely have their own inner battles to face. We all have our own inner battles.
Say that.
We all have our own, and just because you think it should look like this for me, don't mean nothing. I had you
Right.
wasn't around me 24/7, 7 days a week. Well,
Hmm.
24/7 is 7 days a week. You wasn't around me all that time. So and you're not in my head. So you don't know what I've been going through. I mean,
Right.
we know pieces and parts of people,
Right.
but we're not around the same person 24 hours, 7 days a week. It's just not possible. I mean, at some
Right.
point you got to go to the bathroom. So I'm just giving another example of it's impossible. So it's impossible to know everything about everybody, even though somebody might tell you a lot, or you feel like they're telling you everything, or even they say, I'm telling you everything. It, come on now. Let's
Yeah.
be reasonable.
Yeah. And I
So,
was gonna say, in healing, the healing, each person's healing journey is as unique as they are. We are all, again, I said this earlier, we are all unique aspects of the infinite all. So why would you think that we can do a cookie cutter version of healing for me? You may be shaped like a gingerbread man. I may be a Christmas tree. You dig what I'm saying? So that healing for you as a gingerbread man is not going to look the same for me as a Christmas tree.
yeah.
So we gotta get out of that mindset that it should look the same. Just accept people for who they are. Accept that we all have issues and honor that. Because you got issues when you look in the mirror. Hey, there's certain things about me I don't like, or certain things I do, so on and so forth. Then just accept people for who they are. Everybody can't fit and walk the same path you do. You're not supposed to. That's not what we're
Yeah.
here for. We're not robots. We're not mass produced in a factory somewhere with factory settings that can be, updated over time. No, we are all different, and we're supposed to be and honor that in people.
Yep. Agreed. Um, and the more, and you can relax more when you accept people for who they are. You're not
Yep.
all tense and wondering if this person's going to say or do something, excuse me, to hurt you, or you can just relax, just chill. It's hard, but I mean, otherwise you're gonna always be anxious. You are putting more on you than you really need to, because you're worrying about the wrong thing. Worry about you, and don't worry about you. Just be concerned about yourself and how you're treating other people and how you're talking to other people. Because and just because you choose to be nice to people and good to people and kind and loving and all that, don't mean that's what you're gonna get. But why are you not getting that from them? You don't know what they've been through. You don't know what they've been told. You don't know what they've experienced. So you can put it off on them to, have them do what you want them to do. But then again, you creating mess for yourself, because we can't. make people do stuff that we want them to do. It's not because we don't want nobody doing us like that. We become bullies when we do that. So, in one
Mhm.
way or the other, control. Bullying is about control. So,
Yes, Lord.
yeah. So, I'm off my soapbox.
And she steps down.
I'm stepping down now. So, if you do number eight,
Gotcha. All right. Number eight is have better clarity. Shadow work gives you better clarity on how your thoughts, emotions, and feelings lead you to act the way you do. When you have this information about shadow work, you can show up with more clarity and authenticity. Is shadow work right for you? Everyone has a shadow. Everyone has a shadow, even if you may have heard about it through a different name. It doesn't have to be associated with something traumatic, but the more you can integrate yourself in the shadow, the more healthy you will feel. Shadow work is crucial for your personal development to help you become the best version of yourself. However, not all approaches to shadow work may be right for you. If you're not sure whether shadow work is right for you or not, consider trying three of the 27 shadow work prompts that we have and see what comes up. If it feels at all difficult to answer these prompts, it means shadow work could be good for you.
okay. So, I'm gonna give you remember where we are,
Mhm.
um, because I see where I was supposed to put that at. Um, So here are a few questions. Here's a few prompts um, to for you to use as shadow work exercises to kickstart your process. You can ask these three questions. So read what you just read again about the three of the 27. Read that part again.
Yeah, so if you're not sure whether shadow work is right for you, consider trying three of the 27 shadow work prompts that we have and see what comes up. If it
Okay.
feels,
That's good. That's what I wanted. So
okay,
here are three questions that you can ask yourself to find out if you're ready for shadow work. How do you believe people see you? That's one question. How would they describe you to someone else? And number three, how does that make you feel? Those are three questions you can ask yourself to see if you're ready to kickstart your healing journey. Um, And then let me just give you two more. What are the worst traits someone can have according to you? And when did you demonstrate these traits? So those are things to if hearing what I just said, if that helped you to think, man, I really need to, yeah, I'm ready for this shadow work journey. Then those are, I think I gave you five of them. Those are things to consider to say, okay, I'm ready. Or, okay, this applies to me. Or, okay, I need this. So, hopefully, that makes sense. So, the next part,
how to start shadow work.
I'm not sure. Did you do better clarity?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah. Yep. How to start shadow work.
All right. All right. So if everything those three prompts, if it resonates with you, you can start practicing your shadow work. It requires a lot of it requires a lot of inner work, but it's possible for you to do it successfully even on your own. Here's how to do shadow work, no matter where you are right now. Number one, decide if you'll seek therapy or do shadow work on your own. You don't have to seek out a therapist to do shadow work. However, it can be helpful to have someone else to guide you through the process. A trained professional can spot patterns within you you may not be aware of. They can also give you the tools you need to deal with any triggers you may uncover. Plus, therapists can provide you with personalized prompts to guide you through your shadow work journey. Um, I'm definitely of the mindset. I mean, I know it's hard, and we talk about uh, going to a counselor and cost is often a major holdback for people. But you have things like Building Bridges KC. You got the suicide hotline 988, where you can call to talk to an unbiased person that can help you see things from a different perspective. Um, and I think once you get a firm foundation, you can definitely take the journey on your own. It's always good. And even if you're just journaling, so you can even go back and look at your own stuff to be more self-aware of your patterns and things of that nature. That helps. But having someone who is unbiased uh, help you look at yourself, through different eyes is always a good thing to start for sure.
Yeah, that's good. Because it's those um those habits. Are we at number two?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm just gonna read it because I was getting ready to to re- repeat what we're getting ready to read. So, excuse me, to start shadow work. So practice spotting your inner shadow. To start shadow work, it's important to spot your inner shadow. To do this, you can start by spotting habits you may have. Habits can be good, but they can also be bad. What patterns do you tend to replicate repeatedly in your life that you feel are holding you back? You should also pay attention to your triggers to spot your shadow. Triggers remind you of past trauma, which is usually associated with your shadow. Those triggers are messages to help you realize your shadow wants to be seen. Finally, you can spot your shadow by noticing yourself projecting. One way you can do this is by using the mirror technique. This technique can be uncomfortable at first. However, it can allow you to uncover your shadow self, who your shadow self really is. And then, Gene, hold on to that part right there because I want you
Mhm.
to start there. So, what I want to say about um, this is, and I don't know if we've already read it or not, but one thing about doing the work yourself. Well, let me talk about doing it with somebody first. Doing it with a therapist, for example. If you're doing the shadow work with the therapist, they're listening to what you're saying, or that's what they should be doing, listening to what you're saying. And then they notice patterns. Maybe something happened to you when you were 5. Maybe something happened to you when you were 12. Maybe something happened to you when you were 20. So in this conversation with the therapist or whoever the professional may be, they hear you said that 3 times. You said it when you were 5, 12, and then whatever other age I said, 20 or
20, 20.
whatever. Excuse me. But so I see a pattern. So we need to dig deep. We need to get to that. What's really happening here?
Hmm.
That's getting to the root.
Yep.
But sometimes we can't. Gene mentioned journaling. In the journaling, looking back, he said this, looking back, you see, thanks, Mark, you see, you can read things. Oh, wow, I didn't realize I said that on December 3rd, 1940. And then December 3rd, 1945, and then 1946. This same thing happened. So, why did that happen those 3 different times? What was going on at the time? How do
Mhm.
I really need to deal with this because I don't want this to keep being a repetitive thing. So that's
Right.
the good thing about the therapist. That's the good thing about journaling because if you can't pay a professional, you can look back through your journaling and see it again. And then you have to make a choice. When you see the pattern, you have to make a choice.
Mhm.
What am I going to do about this? This is what I see. What am I going to do about it? And if you don't do something about it, you're going to keep repeating the same thing until you get the lesson. Until Mark will remember this. You might too, Gene. But until I put your arm behind your back and hold your arm up to your neck
Uncle.
and say, Uncle.
Hmm.
you're gonna keep getting the same thing happening to you because you didn't give up. You didn't say uncle, you know.
Mhm.
So and that's just a term. So y'all don't take that no other way than what we are saying here. But until you give up, until you're tired of going through the same thing over and over and over again, and you want something different, Mark said, not uncle.
Right.
So go ahead with the next part, unless you want to add something. I just had to say that.
Yeah. So going back to what you said about journaling. So we talked about, if you don't have time to write down your thoughts always, you can, get yourself a recorder, or there should be like a voice memo or something on your phone. You can in the moment just, talk your ideas out and you can log them. I do that because a lot of times I don't have time to sit down and write out all my thoughts, but I can pick up that phone and record, like speak it into in the recorder, and then log it through the date and go back to it. So and that's the thing. Make sure that you date it so you can go back over time and look. What is this? Like you said, what is the patterns that I keep following? What are the habits? You
Yep.
know, and that's how you break a cycle. You realize that there's a cycle acknowledgement. You have to acknowledge a pattern.
Yep.
Oh, like you said, I said this happened when I was 5, happened when I was 12, happened when I was 20. It's the same thing. Where's the root of that? It happened when I was 2, and this happened. And now when I was 5, I allowed it because that's what I thought was normal. At 12, the same thing. 20,
Yep.
the same thing. But you went back
Yep.
to the root, happened when you were 2, and
Yep.
you dealt with that trauma, and now you
Yep.
just carried it on throughout the rest of your life.
Yep.
That's what journaling does for you.
Yeah. So y'all don't be scared of the shadow because it really ain't about the shadow. It's about what's happening in you. What has happened to you
Right.
is inward, is buried. And so it needs to come out because it's
Right.
not what's the word? It's not doing you well.
Acceptable, palpable, right.
Yeah,
Uh, not serving you.
right. It's not serving you well. So we hello.
Hey, Dissa. This is you got a new name. But by the way, that's my brother's name as well. That's his
Really? Anissa,
second name.
yeah.
Name is Yusef
Okay.
Malik, but he goes by Malik. So
Gotcha.
definitely I can relate to that. We remember that new name since that is my brother's name. But when you were having technical problems, because I was actually finding this information, I know y'all are winding down, but I think everybody needs to have this and everything is kind of what y'all are talking about. But here in Durham, North Carolina, we have something called HARP. It stands for Holistic Empathetic Assistance Response Teams. So it started in
Nice.
June of 2022, and it says that they launched 3 new crisis response units that aim to connect people experiencing nonviolent mental health crisis or quality of life concerns with the right care by sending new responses from better matched residents' needs. So a 4th unit was launched in September. And our goal with these approaches is to connect our Durham neighbors to the right care, starting from the point at which someone calls 911 to warm handoffs to those prepared to help meet the needs of our neighbors in crisis. So they have, as part of these units, crisis call diversion, the CCDE CCD embeds mental health clinicians in Durham's 911 call center, community response teams, and that will dispatch an unarmed 3-person team as first responders to nonviolent behavioral health and quality of life calls for service, and then care navigation. Care navigators follow up with people after meeting with one of our first responders to help connect to the community-based care they need and want. And then the co-response and core pairs clinicians with Durham police officers to respond to certain calls for services that pose a greater potential safety risk. So, like I was telling your mom, this is something that they implemented a few years ago that I really hope more people around the country will implement. But it does involve that
Yeah.
911 and the 988 system. But it is something about that whole notion of people that have the training and are able to deal with it better than, say, our police officers and our law enforcement. So I just
Right.
sit on that and wanted to share that with y'all since I had mentioned it to you earlier, Stephanie, to give a little bit more clarity as to what the program is.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That's good information.
Definitely great information. That's the deal. Like even the police officers are not they're not versed in psychological trauma and things like that. So they react as if it's a crisis, as in like it's violent crisis. They don't know how to, okay, this person is just having a mental breakdown. They need someone to talk to and they need to be, possibly escorted to, somewhere to get some psychological help. But they don't need to be arrested or shot or, tased or something like that. You're just exacerbating the problem when you do that. You need to meet the issue with the same level of concern. If you go in with guns blazing, you can kill a person and I've heard stories of this. And this is why with Adrian, it always bothered me when I hear stories about police officers dealing with a nonverbal autistic person
Mm-hmm.
who's having a mental breakdown or something or whatever, and they go in guns blazing and they end up killing the person, not to realize later on this person is nonverbal. He couldn't answer you,
Right.
or he doesn't know how to communicate with you in a way that you communicate.
Right.
So, man, that's a whole nother show right there.
That's a whole other show, and you're right. There's that whole notion of people that have been killed by police, and they call it suicide by murder by suicide or something like that. It's got a nickname, but it's
Right.
basically where they are. In
That's
some
about.
cases, they're trying to get themselves killed and
Mhm.
everything, but in some cases, it's like you said, it's miscommunication where the police officers aren't trained. Now, there are some other cases where you know that the people are provoking the situation because they really want to get the police officer to kill them and
To kill
everything
him.
like that. So it's basically
Right.
them inducing suicide and everything along those lines.
Suicide by police fire, I believe
Yeah,
it's called.
that's the word I was looking for.
Yeah.
Exactly. So I'm gonna get
Yeah.
off. I know y'all are wrapping up and everything. I was teaching you about your soapbox. I know it's really nicely decorated soapbox. One of those nicely decorated soapboxes that you got off of.
You got flowers and all types of stuff on it.
Okay, so
uh,
let's finish
I
up
got
this number
you.
two, and then
What?
we'll do number three next week. Start at number three.
Got you. All right. So to practice, we were talking about the mirror technique.
Yep.
To practice the mirror technique, pay attention to how you think and feel when you interact with others. When negative feelings come up, ask yourself if you may be projecting. For example, let's say you're talking to a friend and they start taking over the conversation. You're struggling to put a word in, and you may start to judge his behavior and get upset. But perhaps this could be a projection of the shame you feel when you want to speak up and you don't. I mean, think about that. It's frustrating when the person takes over, but there's a time hey, this is a conversation, not a monologue. Let me get a word in there, Edgewise, please. You know, sometimes, and we don't have to be rude about it, but hey, I, you're not letting me talk. We're not conversing. You're monologuing now. You need to listen as much as you're talking. So, you know,
And that's a
there's that problem.
problem. Yeah, that's a problem that a lot of people have. Um, that to them, having a conversation, them talking, um, is more means more to them than listening. And so those people just don't have good listening skills, which
You
affects the conversation, then
and the
affects
relationship.
relationship.
Yep. Yep.
So, you know, um, and Gina said this, in one of the last few shows recently, you know, reminded us we got two ears and one mouth, two ears to listen. We have to listen twice as more than we speak. And that makes a better relationship. It helps because it's so necessary. We can't do all of the transmitting and not
Right.
receiving, you know.
Right.
And that's how when it comes to the hearing and listening, that's how it is for me, uh,
Mhm.
specifically, I guess because of where that came from. But
Yeah.
so Chris lives on.
You know what?
Chris lives on.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. So
Lives on. Yep.
yeah. So that's so important. Um, you want to add anything else?
Yeah. Yeah. I wanted to actually piggyback on what you just said. So active listening creates a better relationship because both parties are heard truly. You can listen but not hear. You know what I'm saying? Or hear not listen. Either way, you know what I'm trying to say. You
Yeah.
know, one is just hearing what they're saying, and the other is understanding, and being able to download and empathize with what they're saying, not
Yeah.
just hearing words and looking to reply.
Yeah.
Anyone can do that.
Yeah.
Birds do that. You can train a parrot to say words back. Do they understand what you're talking about?
Yeah.
Do they feel the emotions that you're Admitting when you say XYZ, there's a difference. Anyone can parrot words back to you. That's just a tin tat for we're playing tennis with words, but no one's hearing each other. So the relationship is very superficial as opposed to one made from depth and understanding and empathetic, compassionate uh, relations with the person. So yeah, be an active listener, man. Just sit back and listen and truly hear them. Dang, okay. He said this, and the way he looked when he said it, he looked sad. So let's dive into that. What I heard you say, and when you said that, you look this way. What does
Yeah.
that mean?
Yeah.
And from that, you get an understanding. But you see how I took what you said, let you know that I digested it, and I saw your body language and the energy that you said it with. So now I'm like, oh, I heard you say that. Let you know I'm listening to you. You said this, and you said it like this. So that's me paying attention to everything, you
Yeah.
know, and that's how you have a deep relationship with a person.
You so observant.
That's what happens when you be quiet sometimes. You just be like, oh, okay.
Um, so the other thing is time for us to go, but the other thing about that I wanted to add is that when um, you're listening to somebody, you know when you're actively listening when you're not thinking about what you're gonna say next because
Hmm.
your thoughts are going on, so you're hearing two different conversations, so you're not really hearing and actively listening to what the person said because you can't. It's not when it's two different conversations going on. But anyway, that's the end of our show. Thank you guys for joining us. Comment and we'll respond to your comments. Thank you for joining us. We send you peace, send you love. Next Sunday at 5 p.m. Central Standard Time, right here, wherever you're watching us from. Take care and bye for now.
A decent out.